Buckingham Palace is a royal residence in London and the administrative headquarters of the monarch of the United Kingdom. Located in the City of Westminster, the palace is often at the centre of state occasions and royal hospitality. It has been a focal point for the British people at times of national rejoicing and mourning. Originally known as Buckingham House, the building at the core of today's palace was a large townhouse built for the Duke of Buckingham in 1703 on a site that had been in private ownership for at least 150 years. It was acquired by King George III in 1761 as a private residence for Queen Charlotte and became known as the Queen's House. During the 19th century it was enlarged by architects John Nash and Edward Blore, who constructed 3 wings around a central courtyard. Buckingham Palace became the London residence of the British monarch on the accession of Queen Victoria in 1837. The last major structural additions were made in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, including the East Front, which contains the balcony on which the royal family traditionally appears to greet crowds. A German bomb destroyed the palace chapel during the Second World War. The King's Gallery was built on the site and opened to the public in 1962 to exhibit works of art from the royal collection. The original early 19th century interior designs, many of which survive, include widespread use of brightly colored scagliola and blue and pink lapis, on the advice of Charles Long. King Edward VII oversaw a partial redecoration in a Belle Epoque cream and gold color scheme. Many smaller reception rooms are furnished in the Chinese Regency style with furniture and fittings brought from the Royal Pavilion at Brighton and from Carlton House. The palace has 775 rooms, and the garden is the largest private garden in London. The staterooms, used for official and state entertaining, are open to the public each year for most of August and September and on some days in winter and spring. In the Middle Ages, the site of the future palace formed part of the manor of Ebury, also called Aya. The marshy ground was watered by the river Tyburn, which still flows below the courtyard and south wing of the palace. Where the river was fordable, at Cow Ford, the village of Icross grew. Ownership of the site changed hands many times. Owners included Edward the Confessor and Edith of Wessex in late Saxon times, and, after the Norman conquest, William the Conqueror. William gave the site to Geoffrey de Mandeville, who bequeathed it to the monks of Westminster Abbey. In 1531, Henry VIII acquired the Hospital of St. James, which became St. James's Palace, from Eton College. And in 1536 he took the manor of Ebury from Westminster Abbey. These transfers brought the site of Buckingham Palace back into royal hands for the first time since William the Conqueror had given it away almost 500 years earlier. Various owners leased it from royal landlords, and the freehold was the subject of frenzied speculation during the 17th century. By then, the old village of Icross had long since fallen into decay, and the area was mostly wasteland. Needing money, James VI then first sold off part of the crown freehold but retained part of the site on which he established a 4-acre mulberry garden for the production of silk. This is at the northwest corner of today's palace. Clement Walker in Anarchia Anglicana, 1649, refers to new erected Sodoms and spintrees at the mulberry garden at St. James's. This suggests it may have been a place of debauchery. Eventually, in the late 17th century, the freehold was inherited from the property tycoon Hugh Audley by the great heiress Mary Davies. When the improvident Goring defaulted on his rents, Henry Bennet, 1st Earl of Arlington, was able to purchase the lease of Goring House, and he was occupying it when it burned down in 1674. Following which he constructed Arlington House on the site, the location of the southern wing of today's palace, the next year. In 1698, John Sheffield acquired the lease. He later became the first Duke of Buckingham in Normanby. Buckingham House was built for Sheffield in 1703 to the design of William Winde. The style chosen was of a large, 3-floored central block with 2 smaller flanking service wings. It was eventually sold by Buckingham's illegitimate son, Charles Sheffield, in 1761 to George III for £21,000. Sheffield's leasehold on the Mulberry Garden site, the freehold of which was still owned by the royal family, was due to expire in 1774. That is all. Subscribe and post comments for future videos.